This now for some reason.
There we go. Live.
Hi, hello, hi everybody. Welcome to Curious Endeavourances Book Club, where we read anything and everything. If you have not seen us before, we are a group of people on a group thing on Goodreads. That is what it's called. It is a group on Goodreads, and we read books. We pick a book every month. We take turns, and at the end of the month, we come online and discuss it for you to watch and partake in. You can join the conversation on the group. I'll post links below. There's also blogs and book reviews that are actually coherently written.
Most of the time. Some of the time.
Some of the time. When they get written, they are more coherent than my current babbling. Yes.
Indeed.
Anyway, it's just the two of us tonight. So there's Julianne Wilson.
Hi, guys.
And I'm Caitlin Perry. So tonight's pick was my pick. It was thematic for Halloween that countries have, not the one I live in. Sometimes the one I live in.
So unfortunate.
It's getting more popular. There are costumes now. I'm really excited. Maybe next year
Progress. Halloween
trick-or-treating. Maybe I can have a party next year and people will know what it is. So this pick, oh dear God, is Soulless by Gail Carriger. It is yes, there, the cover, the beautiful cover. It's a steampunk paranormal romance.
That sounds about right.
That sounds about right, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
That's how I would also categorize it.
So that covers the fact that there's steampunk and werewolves and vampires and the fact that she's soulless.
Yes. Though not quite as steampunky as like if just pure steampunk.
That's true. The steampunk is actually kept to a very dull roar, which I was surprised by. I kind of the cover has like her cool umbrella, which was a cool
totally steampunky umbrella. And there's like
there's like little hints like the carriages and like the technology, the automatons. But there was less of it than I thought there was going to be.
I will say before I read the description so people know what it's about, there's more steampunk throughout, like as the series goes on. There's 5 books in this series, and then there's a couple of other series in the same world. And if you read the Finishing School series, that one is just steampunk up the wazoo.
Oh, okay, and that one's the young adult one, right? I think I have that one.
Yeah, it's a young adult one, and it's set before this one.
Oh.
So different characters. Also very good. I like all of the books. I'm also reading the 3rd series, Same World, which is set after this series, which also has more steampunky. This one I think is a bit more of the at least for the first book, it has to give you a bit more of the lore, whereas I think in the other books, because the other series was out, you can easily just kind of be like, I'm assuming, I'll explain it in case you haven't read the other books, but I'm going to assume you read the other books, so.
That makes sense.
Anyway, I will read the description. So it's the first in the Parasol Protectorate. Okay. Alexia Terabati is laboring under a great many social tribulations. First, she has no soul. Second, she's a spinster whose father is both Italian and dead. Third, she was rudely attacked by a vampire, breaking all standards of social etiquette. Where to go from there? From bad to worse, apparently, for Alexia accidentally kills the vampire, and then the appalling Lord Macon, loud, messy, gorgeous, and werewolf, is sent by Queen Victoria to investigate. With unexpected vampires appearing and expected vampires disappearing, everyone seems to believe Alexia responsible. Can she figure out what is actually happening to London's high society? Will her soulless ability to negate supernatural powers prove useful, or just plain embarrassing? Finally, who is the real enemy, and do they have treacle tart? Impressions?
I loved it. I actually it's funny. I almost feel like noting the first few pages were rough for me because it was a bit hard to get into, just because of there's a bit of head hopping right in the beginning that took me a little bit. But oh my gosh, once I got into it, I could not put it down, and I read probably the last, I don't even know, at least the last half in one sitting, and I was sitting just laughing at myself and the book at 12 in the morning. I was cackling out loud, and that's always a good sign with a book. And I loved it. And I loved the character of Alexia because she was really I don't know, stubborn and strong-willed and nope, this is the way it is. And hey, no, I'm right. But she was also wrong about some things and had to fumble through that and figure stuff out. Oh my God, it was hilarious at the beginning with Lord Macon where she's But I'm soulless. I can't be feeling anything.
Yes.
You're like,
can't be
sorry,
right.
but yes, you can.
Yeah.
But yeah, I loved it.
I was surprised because I went back because I'd read this before and I'd only gave it 3 stars. And I love the series. I love all of Carriger's books. But there are definitely parts that I struggled through, and I think that's just like when she's with the American dude, like in the carriage, and like there are just certain scenes where I'm like, yeah, but where's Lord McCon? Like, can we get back to it? It doesn't have to be her and him. I don't know. But
I froze, but I came back.
yeah,
Sorry.
yes, you came back. I just tried to keep talking when I realized. So yeah, the American, like stuff with the American, like when they're just in the carriage talking, I was just like, I don't care. I want to get back to like the plot. I want to get back to Lord McCon. It doesn't even have to be McCon and Terabody. Like I like him and Lyle, because Lyle is just like, you're so in love with this woman. How do you not realize you're in love with this woman? You can just tell.
I loved when Lord McCon is like, did I play this wrong? What do I do?
Lyle is just
grovel.
Like, yeah. I suggest you grovel, sir. Like, really? Me? An elephant? Mm-hmm. Yep. Like Lyle is just so like he's a bit, he's a werewolf too, but even up until he goes, on the night of the moon change, even up until he changes, he's
like sitting there reading.
Naked because his clothes will get destroyed, but he's reading his newspaper, like up until the last minute. He's just so like
yeah,
I don't know. I love Lyle. I love Lyle's. I like all the characters. I like most of the characters. But
I love that so many of the characters are so well fleshed out. Like you just get such a good impression of them. Like her, I'm blanking on her friend's name right now, but the friend with the ridiculous hat.
Ivy Hisselpenny.
Yes,
Miss Hisselpenny.
Yeah, no, her with the ridiculous hats. Yeah.
Oh, the hats.
Like they all have some sort of quirk, and like even Alexia's two like ridiculous sisters. Mm-hmm. Like it just it was entertaining. Basically, this book is just so entertaining.
I kind of picture her sisters like the stepsisters from Cinderella, like the animated version. Yeah. Oh yeah, totally. Like bouncing around, like with their bustles bouncing around and their hair flouncing as they come down.
And no particularly measurable talent, but not the worst people, just kind of led by bad, influences. Like, yeah.
One of my issues is I can never correlate her mother with her father. Like, you don't know much about her father, but you know he's soulless and you know he's Italian. And then her mother is just the most ridiculous woman.
But she also is kind of like, because the mother gives the impression that she kind of made a mistake with the Italian.
Yes.
And then we know from like his library and like many of Alexia's comments that her dad was a bit of a horn dog. It's kind of like, okay, maybe like, I don't know.
I'm trying.
We don't know what relationship. Her parents would have been married, I suppose, but she doesn't really talk about like her parents together before her dad died.
No, well, you don't really know like how old you know that she was young, but young enough to still old enough to understand. Like she's like, I remember the man coming to me and explaining. Mm-hmm. So you're Soulless, and her being like, okay, great, thanks. Like this little tiny Alexia. All right. Yes, I understand. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay.
But yes, that like. I understand the purpose of the American. Like I think my biggest issue is just the introduction of the American, for a lot of reasons. But like one of the big ones is like I get that he's like the contrast love interest. She has no interest in, but the way McCon is always just like
supposed triangle.
Yeah, like the way he reacts to it, but I just I could have done with that. I think that was one of my big issues. I could have done without him. I always got bored with and I get that you have to have the society life
kind of
stuff.
Yeah, and get like him kind of creating an entrance to that. But
yeah, like the walking out and the dinner parties and all that. But I'm like, no, just go back to the French inventions and the. And
honestly, I feel like he kind of actually that character. And I'm blanking on the name. What's the American name?
I don't remember his name. That's why I keep saying the American.
It's the only one in the book. This and it's like, no, I know there is one. Oh, wait. McDougal, is that him?
Yes.
Mr. McDougal.
Is it?
That's it. It's really lucky that I totally opened to a random page that has him. Yeah. Very forward American man.
Yes.
Alexia sighed inwardly, but nodded her acquiescence. Mr. McDougal.
Yes.
That doesn't sound particularly American.
Yeah, it sounds Scottish.
Just saying. Yeah. But anyways, I honestly, like, I feel almost like he could have just not been there. Like, it really wouldn't have done that much damage.
Well,
He
and
was
that's
kind
my
of
thing.
useless
Is
at the
like,
end anyways.
yeah. Yeah, so
He
it was
sort
like
of
parts like that. Like,
do anything.
I think that was one of my issues with the book, is there's so many interesting characters that she's constantly talking to, like Macon and Lyle and Ivy and Lord Akeldama.
Yes.
My favorite character,
best character
in the
ever.
whole book.
Love the comment at the beginning about how he always speaks in italics.
I just want to speak in italics. Like, how? My sweet cherry blossom. Like, I don't think I can pull it off.
No, I'm not sure anybody can, but it was awesome.
That I want Lord,
He sounds like the perfect best friend, quite frankly.
Now, is he like the cliche gay best friend? Like,
Probably,
but totally
That's
necessary.
so much fun.
and useful, because it's not just the whatever gay vampire best friend, or
because we all have one of those.
Yes, clearly we all need one. But he's also, he's got his network, right? So
he's got his like little spy network and all of his like relatively attractive but blend into the crowd young men that like go out and get information for him.
His useless fops that are or dandies or whatever that are actually, they're actually just picking up tidbits of information. So I like that seems very frivolous, but he's actually just probably one of the most powerful people in the city, probably because of how much information he has.
Yeah. Yep, love that too.
Yeah.
You're such a good character.
So many good characters.
There were so many good characters. Yeah, no. It was so good. Very entertained between like the Lord Macon and Alexia stuff. Like, they were so entertaining. And like, especially later on into the book where like everybody else is like, you realize we all know this is gonna happen.
Yeah, guys, come on.
Like everyone else, like I believe even Queen Victoria, when she showed up, was kind of like, okay, well, we approve.
Yes, they approve of this marriage.
Okay then.
Cool, great. What? But what is it? Like the scene in the dungeon.
Which one?
when she gets thrown in, they're like, we're gonna see how fast your powers work, and she's like, oh, it's like an hour.
Yeah.
Yeah. Spoilers.
Buys herself some time. She's like, no, it takes like an hour to turn them back.
She's like,
they throw her in with a giant werewolf anyways.
Yeah. Yeah, oh yeah, it's not like she'll be torn apart regardless. Yeah. Like, we'll just try it anyway, it's no big deal. And he's like, you are very naked now, sir. Now you have to hold on to you, or you'll turn back into a giant Scottish werewolf that will tear me to shreds.
But it's funny, even when I first threw her in there, because he's like in wolf form. And
he does the like.
Am I supposed to attack or what? Like,
because he gets her scent, right? He's like in his like instincts, like want this to be my mate, but must attack. But
later on, he's like, all I remember is being very confused. Oh yeah, no, it was good. Seriously though, that McDougal guy is so useless.
No, totally useless. Yeah, so you get all these other wonderful characters.
And then that one character, you're just like, did you do anything? No.
You're just so bland.
Yeah.
I mean, I get the point of like the backstory, like his family turning or whatever. I can't really remember, but
his brother supposedly was turned into a vampire, and his family like disowned him because
but it was like
it all seemed like extra.
Yeah.
Like it didn't entirely need to be there.
Yeah. Could have done without.
Mm-hmm. But holy goodness, those automatons freaked me out. Like wax-faced men. Like, that's not natural.
No, not really. The wax face
wasn't, but
no.
Totally not. I have a totally random question, actually. It's only sort of random. But So the series is called the Parasol Protectorate
Yes.
series.
Yes.
I assume that's something that gets formed in the second book? Because what is the actual Parasol Protectorate?
No, it's because
That's just her, because she always carries a parasol.
it's because of her parasol, basically.
Okay. I was just curious. I was like, there was never any like actual. I mean, at the end, spoilers, she gets like hired on by the queen to liaise between the vampires and the werewolves. Yeah, and that was another question. Where the heck did that word come from?
I don't know. I don't remember. I either don't remember or it does not get.
There's part of me that wants to be like, what? Like, yeah, it doesn't explain, but I want to be like, what prompted that particular word? Is there like some sort of historical?
I imagine if you wanted to research it, that would probably be some sort of historical something.
That would make sense.
Maybe it'll come up in a different book that she hasn't written yet.
That could be. That's my cat, if you guys can hear that.
What?
She's decided she's disgruntled that she can't reach me on the other side of the laptop.
I don't know where my cat is, actually. Oh, I know. There's folded laundry on the couch.
Ah, that's where the cat is.
Yes. Clean, warm laundry, best bed ever. Yeah, I don't know, but I'm sure if you looked into it, you could probably find
that would make sense.
Let's see.
I just like the term kind of seems to come out of nowhere. Oh gosh, I don't. Hold on. I can probably find it. Maybe.
I typed it, but I feel like it's supposed to have one more letter.
I don't know. I didn't have it flagged.
Oh, it does come up.
It did come up? Oh, good. Because I still haven't found it. Oh, wait. It'll probably be in here somewhere.
The first sample that comes up uses a sample from Soulless.
Okay, that's not usually a good sign. If it was only historical.
I don't know. I can post something because I don't want to sit here searching all the links.
I was gonna say.
I
feel like I should have found it by now, but
it looks like there's other stuff. Like Soulless gets used a lot, and I don't know if that's just because it's a good example. It's a good pop culture example, but is it Muja, Dewan? Oh God, what's the vampire?
I don't even know. I want to say it started with a P. I could be wrong about that.
Oh, I always remember Dewan for some reason, but for the werewolves.
That's okay. Random archaic sounding language.
Yes. Well, I mean,
we'll go with that.
Victorian and
yeah. No, I also loved the very beginning where she does accidentally kill that vampire. She's like, what just happened? Like, not intentional. And then it's in the papers the next morning, but her name isn't mentioned, and her sisters are like, wait, what? Like, what's going on? But they don't know.
What happened at the party?
Oh, and the fact that she was like ordering tea because she was indignant that there were no snacks.
She's like, I knew it's rude, but I was promised food. And then like when she explains it to Laura Khan, he's like, well, of course. It makes perfect sense. Match made in heaven. Like I get he's a werewolf and eat like all the time, but so does she apparently. She loves her food, so
which is awesome.
Yes,
it's kind of refreshing to have a character set in that time period who's not like, oh, I can only eat like 3 bites because otherwise my stomach will expand too much in my corset.
Well, and that he liked her for that, right? He's like, yeah, so she doesn't have a traditional nose, but she's got curves like a woman's supposed to have. And like,
exactly.
Well, and even like, why is she not married, Lyle? Well, she's old, sir. Oh, please. Like, she's not that old. She's probably like, what, 25? Which, of course, back then she was a spinster, but like, you know.
But to them, they're like hundreds of years old.
They're like hundreds, but you think they'd be almost more like, because of that, quite often paranormal creatures, because they're so old, they have problems adapting to modern viewpoints and modern technology, but
oh well. Yeah, no, romance entertaining. I love that though. I like the biggest thing that I loved about this book was really just the humor. Like, it was just the gazillion little witticisms that she threw in. Oh, I only just noticed that there was an octopus on the thing that says, like, because the octopus was like a symbol that she kept seeing.
I never even noticed that.
I totally only just noticed that right now.
And now looking at her other books I have, I'm like, oh, cool, there's like a symbol. I like they have that symbol and that symbol.
They never did explain the octopus, I don't think. It was just a thing.
It was part of the Hippocrates Club symbol.
It was like their symbol, but I don't think they ever explained why.
I'm trying to think if it ever explains. I don't think it ever does, but if you want to think about it, it could be like the many hands, right? Like there's like
that would make sense.
It could be the moving parts because there's so many. Like if you want to be like the.
There are many options, I suppose. I sit here and like pretend to be an octopus.
All the hands, like one mind and many hands, or like the something about the like moving the intricate parts, or the unknown because the giant squid of like the books, but no one had ever seen one. Discovering the unknown. I'm just gonna throw so many theories out there.
I was gonna say.
I could go for days.
No, but I definitely, it's funny too, one of the only things that was kind of unfortunate is that I did see it coming, who the problem was. Because like it's mentioned a couple times, and then once, what's his name, McDougal, mentions that he has a speech there, I was kind of like, oh, he's going to get tangled up in it, isn't he?
Why else is he there?
Well, and that's the thing, like, he's not really there for anything.
I read it, the first time I read it was long enough ago, I don't remember.
Yeah.
If I saw it coming.
I did see it coming, but it's like, I don't know, I wasn't, how to word this? I wasn't expecting like major suspense. Like, I went into this being like, woohoo, it's going to be a light read, and it was, and I loved it.
Well, and I think the thing about the humor part is because the humor, the witticisms of the different characters, and they all have slightly different senses of humor and different quirks, that the humor kind of is just the overlying tone of everything. And like it's got a very interesting world building system with the I love this twist on the paranormal where like, oh yes, other countries haven't accepted the paranormal, but we have, so the vampires now run the fashion world and the werewolves are our military and they're all welcome. And now everyone runs their lives on we're all awake at night and sleep during the day because that's how the world is run now, at least in England. And
it was brilliant. I really did like her world building. I'm curious actually like to read more. I think the next one you said is, or maybe you didn't say, but the next one is Changeless, right?
Yes.
I think so. I feel like somebody said that. I want to get the next one. I'll have to get it on Kindle. Wow.
Do it. Oh my god. I'm excited for you to read it.
And I have actually heard that this is one of those series where the books just keep getting better and better.
Okay, rating spoilers. I originally rated it 3 because I liked it, and I find that a lot of series I end up loving. I usually for some reason rate the first book 3, but it's like the top end of 3, and like it's full 3 to the point where I'm like, yeah, I really liked it. Like it was good. I had these issues, but I want to read the next book, and then they always seem to get better. And then by then I'm just so immersed in the world and the characters.
Yeah.
And I think that's the problem with first books normally, right? Like
because there's so much setup. And then you go back and you read them knowing and loving the characters, and you're like, but this. I
know, and now I'm like, no, I would give it this many stars because I skim over the parts I didn't like before.
Yeah.
I just keep going, like, because I know this is great, and I know this is great, and I know this is great, and I can focus more on the characters and on the world building and less on like these little scenes I didn't care about or.
It's like, well, I know that, I can ignore that.
So, what do you think about? Because you're used to paranormal in all sorts of fantasy, sci-fi, with werewolves, vampires. What do you think about the introduction of a preternatural, of the Soulless?
I love it.
I know, right?
I'm really curious. Did they like delve a little bit more into it in later books? Because even her, like, she's like the only one, right? So, or at least the only one like in their area. So she certainly doesn't know anybody else like her.
They're super, super rare.
Yeah,
but they're almost necessary.
And they're even rarer as females.
Yeah. But they always
curious, like later on, does it give more Like,
Yeah,
does she
yeah. Like
remember about it?
there's more information about it that becomes illuminated in the series, like later in the series. But, like, it's interesting because, like, she wants to work for Burr, right? Because she's like, you've hired preternaturals before, like, you need me because. So the way it works in this world, if anyone hasn't read it yet, is to become a vampire or a werewolf, you need an excess of soul, which is usually artistic types. And it's usually men. Like, there aren't a lot of women. I don't know if they mentioned that in this book, but it does come up.
Yeah, they mentioned that not as many men or not as many women survived the change.
Well, and that's why, like, there's the queen, like how the vampires are set up like bees.
Yeah, that's interesting. Because, like,
So,
if so few of the females survive the change, like, I guess that explains why there are so few queens.
Yeah, that's why there's so few queens, and why queens are like, and only queens can. It's a little only queens can turn humans into vampires. If you don't have an excess of soul, you die. It's very rare, like it almost never happens.
Mm-hmm.
And then only women can be queens, and all the women are queens or something. But it's very few women survive. Like, very few men survive.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember with the werewolves. How is it that the werewolves work?
The alphas. This gets explained later too a bit.
Okay, because, like, I don't know if that was actually explained in the first one.
I don't think it was, but it does get explained
in the second or further.
I can't remember. Okay, both get
explained.
Both, I don't know when, but both get explained in much better detail later, because now that you're in the world's built up, like, and now Alexia is even more involved, right? Because she joins the pack, so to speak. She can learn more about it. The werewolves, only an alpha can change, because I think they have to be in their Anubis state.
Right. And he said that was like something you could only do sorry, if you were like really old or an alpha or something like that.
Yeah, like or old and an alpha. Like, it's really rare. So basically only alphas can do it, because also they're the leaders, right? So, like, it's the same with the queens. Like, you're coming into my hive, you're coming into my pack, unless a rogue vampire gets one, and then it's like, hi, queen, can you add to my entourage? Very pretty, please. Like, that's probably be even rarer. So that's really interesting. And then they have these, and then, of course, but if you have excess of soul and you die, you become a ghost.
Okay, they didn't explain that either. Interesting.
Oh, did they not? Have spoilers. I thought they did, because oh no. How much do you know? I don't know anymore.
There aren't really any ghosts.
There aren't really any ghosts.
No, the ghosts don't really show up in this one. Like, I don't think a single ghost actually played a speaking role.
But that's okay. Spoilers. But ghosts, okay.
And then ghosts make logical sense in the world building anyways. Like,
yeah. So it all has to do with how much soul, or in Alexia's case, no soul. And because she has no soul, she can negate their soul. Their excess soul, which is now a vampire werewolf's soul.
Like, bring them back down to the normal human level.
Make them human while she's touching them.
Yeah. No. I thought it was interesting too that she doesn't have to actually have, like, skin contact, as long as she's wearing like a glove, and it still works.
Yeah, so
that's like a concession to the Victorian era.
Probably, because otherwise, like, at first I think it's like Rogue from X-Men, where, like, because she can wear gloves, right? She wears gloves so that she can touch people, because otherwise she sucks their life force or power. So X-Men relevancy. But yeah, it's not like that. She can touch, which of course makes it even more awkward for her, because, like, oh, I can just bump into you. Sorry.
Yeah. Like, whoops.
Soul sucker.
Yep. I thought that was hilarious that the vampires, like, their, like, derogatory term for her was soul sucker, when, like, a derogatory term for vampires would be bloodsucker, right? So it's just hilarious.
Well, and it's funny that, like, the vampires are so much more afraid of her than the werewolves are, right? Like, they're just like, miss your body, yes, hello. Yeah. Or on the other hand, like, the vampires, like, don't touch me, but then Lord Akadama is like, can you just...
Yeah.
Because been
And
a
his thing
vampire.
too, where he was like, I just want to see the sunrise.
Oh, so beautiful. I was watching a movie the other day where it's a similar thing, you know, vampire basically never gets to see a sunrise and ends up being able to see it for some reason. And it just brought me back to that too, and thinking like those little things that we take for granted because
Yeah.
we just can. But then, you know, for him, it's been, we don't know how long because he won't say how old he is, but
Likely centuries.
like, yeah, centuries probably, very, very long. It's just like, oh yeah, those vampires that are younger than me or like locked away in their little hive, like stuck in their little cocoon of whatever.
Mm-hmm.
They're so wrapped up in that they don't understand, like they don't know what it's like to miss humanity.
Yeah.
When you no longer have it. Well, especially because like the thing about vampires versus werewolves, okay, ghosts are always ghosts. Like they get worse, right? They start to deteriorate. And vampires,
Oh, that's sad.
or not, but you're always a ghost. Like in any like, and this isn't just in this lore. I'm talking about every lore. Like a ghost is always a ghost.
Yeah.
In some lores, they then become poltergeists if they're evil ghosts or whatever. They start to go, or maybe they're. But either way, you're always.
Yeah, there's no like multiple forms for a ghost. You're a ghost.
And a vampire is the same, basically. Like once you're a vampire, like you can't go out in the sunlight, you can't do this, and it's like, at least with the werewolves, even in this one, like.
Yeah, they change.
They change. They can be human-ish, like especially further away from the full moon, and then. Like in this one, isn't it like they can't all go out in the sunlight, but if you're older, you're stronger, like.
Yeah, if you're older, you can survive daylight for longer.
For a few days in a row.
Yeah, like you can, no sweat, you can like be out for a day, but then like if it's a few days, you'll start to kind of show strain. That's one of the reasons that Alexia starts worrying about Lyle, because like she's like, wait, he looks really worn out, but he's like old, he should be able to handle the sun for days. Like what's going on?
Yeah, those little triggers that tell you how old they are, right? Like, I've seen him several days in a row now. But it's just interesting because, you know, Akaldama is like, please hold my hand, I want to see a sunrise. But the werewolves, like, what they say, they call it a curse, right? They call her curse breaker. Because for them, even though they, you know, choose to become werewolves for whatever reason, that one night where their full paranormal power takes them is just absolute madness, pain, agony, and the rest of the time
locked in a dungeon because they can't trust themselves.
Exactly. But the rest of the month, they can live a normal life in this world, at least, where everyone lives at night, and they can change. They can change if they want to, but they don't.
Yeah, and depending on how old they are, they have more control over that change, as mentioned with the Anubis state. Yeah.
So it's just an interesting, like, you see a lot of, like, or like Alexia clearly has no control over hers even. She's still human, but her powers are just like.
Yeah. It just is, like, it's not something she uses per se.
Yeah.
I was very taken by that. Like, how long does it take for it to work? An hour?
An hour. I don't know, give or take an hour.
Well, when she turns Lord Macon back, he's like, and she's like, well, we've got like an hour. And he's like, how did you manage that?
She's a very powerful and persuasive woman. She's very smart from all those books, all that book learning.
Sure.
The blue collar daughter, right? Blue stocking daughter? Blue stocking daughter, her mom calls it.
Yeah, I was very amused by that. Like there's one part I was like, really? The library? Like, I don't know. I feel like there would be a point where I would just stop exploring that particular library and turn to other avenues. Be like, I don't want to know.
But you're not soulless.
That's true. That is true.
I think she thinks that a soulless she can't feel, but I feel like it's more of a mentality thing, right? Where she just can't put up with this.
Really, yeah, that was really interesting. The fact that at the beginning she was just like, nope. And like she almost treated herself as kind of like cold and feelingless because she's soulless. And so like the first several encounters we see with Lord Macon, she's just like, but that can't be. Like,
nope, just not
this feeling must have come from somewhere else. Like, couldn't possibly be that. And no, that's hilarious.
Yeah, so I think Well, and she had no one to explain it to her, right? Like if her dad had been alive,
Yeah.
she'd be like, no, you can totally feel. You
Well,
totally
and
have
that's the thing.
emotion.
It's like, well, her dad was such a horn dog. Didn't that give her like at least some inkling?
Maybe she thought because he was male. I don't know.
I don't know.
Who knows? But like clearly, it's more of a mentality. Like it's such a practical, logical.
Which she is. Like she's very practical and logical.
Well, she says that because I have no soul, I have no creativity. Because that's the whole thing about the people with excess souls. You know, she explains like, oh yeah, they're usually singers or painters or actors, or because it's the artists who have the most soul, apparently.
Yeah, and I'm trying to remember. The werewolves go for like, wait, the werewolves go for the thespians, right? Like thespian singers. And the vampires go for. I feel like I should remember this, but I don't. What do the vampires go for again?
I don't remember because wasn't what's her face a thespian though? But it's not absolute.
Yeah, she was an actress.
But it's not absolute. Like they generally go for those, but it's not like 100%.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense.
Like, oh yeah, we usually go for this, but like if you're a thespian and you're like offered, you know, maybe you get the choice, which is actually a question I was curious about. Would you rather werewolf or vampire? Knowing how it develops later. Like if you know you survive, like say you survive, it doesn't matter how much soul you have for either, you just need this excess soul, right? So yeah, like maybe the werewolves go to you and say, you can be a Claviger, and you'd be like, I'd rather be a vampire. I'll go visit the hive, or vice versa.
Yeah, that's actually a really interesting question though. Like, based on the way that it works in this particular world, which one would you choose? Because there are definitely benefits and drawbacks to both.
Exactly.
Like with age, the werewolves can stay out, you know, in the sunlight, but then like once a month, you're totally screwed.
I see, and here's the trick. As a woman, I would rather be a werewolf.
I was totally just thinking, I'm like, oh, it's not that unusual.
Shut up. No, but my point is, like, because you do not have to have the responsibility of being alpha as a woman. Like, you have no, it's just whoever is an alpha, or whoever's a beta, or whoever's a gamma.
Well, there are alpha females. Because
there can be an alpha female. Like, that's the thing. You have the exact same opportunities.
Yeah, because Lord Malcolm does reference, like, this is what I'd do with an alpha female wolf.
Yes.
And so he's so totally confused when Alexia is like.
So it could be. You could have any of those. You don't have to have any of them. But as a female vampire, queens are tied to their... Queens can't leave.
Actually, vampires in general have trouble traveling, right?
Yeah, vampires in general have trouble traveling. And I believe in this, the queens, like the hive is centered around the queen, right? It's kind of like Akaldama, I think. Is he not? I don't know.
He's a rove.
He's a rove.
Yeah.
So it's a little different, but he still has his territory because, yeah, vampires have trouble traveling. So, like, even as a rove, he's like, he can travel farther, but he's still kind of like
tied to the area.
Tied to the area. But if you're a queen, everyone's tied to you, which means you can't go anywhere. And you have all the responsibilities. And yeah, everyone fawns over you. But you're like, you're the one who has to change everyone. You're the one who...
where it's like, that's got to get dead boring.
Yeah. So I feel like in this world, I would much rather be a werewolf.
Yeah, possibly. It sounds much freer.
Like
once you have to go through the agony of like turning into a wolf.
You get a crazy, painful period once a month.
Get very emotional. It messes with your brain. You can't remember things.
Think we can manage.
Yeah, I'm sure we can survive that.
I mean, I don't know. It's almost like, it's hard to say because I don't think they ever really say, but it's like the trade-off for how much extra you get for that one night of awful.
Yeah. Especially with age, because with the vampires, it almost seems to get worse with age.
Mm-hmm.
Like...
You get batty.
Oh, man. I kind of be like, well, puned.
It took all night, but I got there. I got the pune. The pune, Alfred. To play on words.
Yeah, no, it definitely, like, with the vampires, it does seem like, yeah, you kind of get the shitty end of the deal. Okay,
Yeah.
I just swore, sorry.
I said something worse.
But yeah, no, because it seems like, yeah, the older they get, the worse they get. Like, they would be more susceptible to sunlight, which is the opposite of the werewolves, who then are less susceptible. And yeah, like, you can't, yeah. The vampires didn't get a great deal in this one.
The downside is if you're more powerful, you need more cloggers to lock you up. Like,
yeah. But there's even a certain sense of, like, testing those boundaries, because, like, as we mentioned earlier, Lyle, like, sitting in his cell, like, insisting on reading the newspaper, like, right up until he cannot possibly hold on anymore and has to change.
I think a lot of that has to do with your own, like, mentality, like, because Lyle is just, for a werewolf, he's very, like, put together, calm person. Because you get the sense with, like, the other werewolves, especially with Lord McCon, like,
yeah, they're still more rash and
a little more scruffy. Like, you try to put them together, but there's still a scruffiness to them. But Lyle just seems so, like vampire and werewolf skin almost.
Yeah, he does seem very put together.
That's true. So, like, I think that's his mentality, right? And I guess that's the role of a beta. Like, betas have to be like that because they really have to counteract. So maybe if you're a beta, your mentality allows for the better control.
Yeah. Well, that's what I found fascinating too, because he's the beta of the pack, right? But he's, like, I don't know, looks like he wouldn't be that threatening. So then when Alexia goes and has to, like, go into the vampire hive, she's like, okay, that's the quiet one in the corner. Probably the one to look out for.
Yeah. It's always the quiet ones. Everyone knows that.
True.
The quiet ones lurking in the corner.
He'll probably know everything you don't want them to know.
Oh, probably. I'm sure Lyle has a wealth of information on everything.
True. Now see, I now when I read the next one, like, right away, because I just want to be like, how does Lord Ethelbelma play into the rest of the series? He must somehow. I don't actually want you to tell me. I'm not
going to tell you. I won't tell you anything. I'm trying, and, like, it's hard enough now. I'm like, I know how it ends, but it's like all those little tidbits before the end, right? Like, of things like, who do you know? Who do you not know? What happens when?
That's fair.
Yeah, it's hard. It all blurs. It's all good. So
there's spoilers. Although if people have come this far, then they should know that spoilers are going to happen. And yeah,
yeah.
I'm free to spoil, right?
You can spoil the book as long as, like, I don't want to spoil it because it would actually be like when you come into a book club discussion. I'm sorry, like, there's going to be spoilers about that actual book. But I want to not spoil. I'm trying just not to spoil the rest of the series.
You don't want to spoil beyond the end.
Yes, that's what I'm. Because that would be legitimate.
Yeah, as a point of reference, this one pretty much ends, like, right after Alexia and Lord Macon get married.
Yes. Oh,
that's
yes.
Pretty much where it ends.
I know that much.
So yeah, for, like, reference, if that, I don't know, helps at all.
No, I know it ends there, but it's just like it's the like the big things I can remember in this book, but it's like all the little, like, you know, which characters do you know, like, who have you met, who have you not met, or what have they done. Like, the big characters, obviously, like, oh, Alexia and Khan. I kind of know what goes on there, but it's the in-betweens.
That is fair. I was very amused by her sisters who were like, wait, what? You're marrying who now?
The Lost Cause is marrying the Lord of Wolsey.
Again with the Cinderella. This does have an aspect of Cinderella to it.
Yeah, and I didn't think of it until I started talking about it. And like, that's how I picture them. I was like, oh.
Yeah, that's totally true. And it's really funny because if you put the sort of Cinderella twist on this, then it's her own mother that's playing, like, the kind of wicked stepmother role.
Yeah.
Which is sort of awful.
But one thing I do is that her stepfather kind of makes me think of Mr. Bennett from Pride and Prejudice. Just like, I'm not getting involved in this. I'm not
Yeah, I'm
getting
gonna just
involved
hide
in
behind my
this.
newspaper.
I'm just not getting involved. I'm gonna hide behind my books and things. I do love, though, when he comes to visit, Lord McCon comes to visit, and they're like, he's in the parlor, what is going on? Like, it's just a like complete spasticness, and you're like, you won't, like, he ate 3 whole chickens. So it would be like, yes, mother, he's a werewolf.
Like, why are you surprised?
This should not be news to you. You also grew up in this world. Like, you have lived here also.
But I do get the sense that her mom was really quite naive about the whole paranormal side of things.
Well, I think her mom falls into the sect of people who's like, this is what society says is okay, but I don't know if I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
Like, I'm doing it because society says it's okay, and of course he's a lord. Like, and that's the line, right? Like, the queen of the hive.
Social standing stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Like, the queen of the hive is a queen, and Macon is the Earl of Wolsey. So I have to be okay with this, but I'm not okay with this. But I'm.
But I have to be okay with this.
Yes.
Yeah, pretty much. And it does say, I think, that she never even knew, because she doesn't know about Alexia.
No.
And I don't think she knew about her first husband either.
Probably not.
I'm pretty sure she didn't.
Yeah.
But.
Well, I don't think Alexia told anyone. It's just the paranormal.
Yeah, it's just the paranormal community who knew.
And it's because obviously, Burr knows because if it breeds true and they knew her father, then they obviously know, oh, his offspring. Put her on the record.
Yep.
So, and then of course, if she touches them, they're going to find out really quickly.
Yeah, no kidding, right?
Oh, God. When she talks about the vampire having a lisp and not even being embarrassed, like those little things.
That was hilarious. The fang lisp. I forgot about that too.
Yes, he had a fang lisp. He wasn't even embarrassed by it. I don't know.
Yeah, I know. Oh, it was good.
Yeah.
So good. I did have, it's funny because, like, I guess, once again, rating spoiler. I didn't give it the full 5 stars. I gave it 4. And one of the things that did kind of throw me off it was, like, there is a lot of head hopping in it.
Yeah.
And even, like, later on, that still did kind of throw me off a little bit. But.
Yeah, because it tends to happen, like, right within.
Yeah, like, it'll be, like, paragraph to paragraph. It switches between. And you're just like, wait, what? Who am I? What? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But I was just thinking that from the very beginning, because they show, like, I think, like, and that really, like, the first chapter was a little bit confusing for me because you don't know the characters yet and you're hopping between them. And once you get further in, it's not as much of an issue. But I'm trying to remember if there was even, like, I feel like there was even a little bit from that, like, first vampire that she kills. And so it was just like, wait, what? But that was so entertaining. Oh, it shouldn't be, but it was.
Oh, yeah.
He killed him, but no, it's hilarious.
But I think it's good that it starts like that because it just really throws you into the world and into fully understanding both who the protagonist is and how the world works. Like the fact that she says like he should know who I am. She's okay with him being a vampire.
Yeah.
But she can't believe he's attacking. But your queen should have told you. Like you get all these little tidbits that kind of get you an idea.
Yeah.
At least how it works with vampires. And then when Macon and Lyle come in, you start to get a bit more understanding of how that and Burr works. So pretty quickly, you're given a pretty good frame.
And nothing is like crazy info dumpy either, which is really good. Like it's all actually you need to know, which is useful.
Yeah. Yeah. So you get the nice framework and then the book fills in the rest for you. So you can understand it better.
I was gonna say quotes. I'm sure I'm trying to figure out which ones I have flagged. You don't have your copy with you, do you?
Well, mine is digital.
I just found one that was the first one I flagged, which is awesome. How ghastly for her, said Alexia, driven beyond endurance into comment. People actually thinking with their brains and right next door. Oh, the travesty of it all. Yeah, and that's like 30 pages in, so you get a good sense of her character very early on. Oh, the travesty, they're thinking.
Yes, God forbid. Why would you think?
Oh my gosh.
When I started rereading, I did get far, so I only have a few quotes basically from the first chapter. Which the setup for how Alexia and Lord O'Connell know each other. Connell. At least he always seemed to be frowning when he was in the presence of Miss Alexia Terabody ever since the hedgehog incident, which really honestly had not been her fault. What's the hedgehog incident?
I know. They just like throw that in there several times and you're like, what is this? And then, not gonna lie, when we find out what it is, my brain took like a really quick detour to Sound of Music.
Yeah, yeah, the pine cone.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, totally.
Yeah, no, definitely like the yeah, that was that's kind of hilarious. The hedgehog. It's funny too because like hedgehog, you're like hedgehog, like what? Where does that even like? Where does that come from?
Like, just out of nowhere. Ever since the hedgehog incident. What is?
Yeah. What is that? That was good. That was like a little piece that was kind of like, what is this? And you don't find out.
That is a bit cute. That's my,
it is. You don't find out the full story till later either. Well, you never really hear the full story, but you hear it. You understand.
You get the yeah. But it's super cute. Kind of interesting. Yeah, no, there's lots of just little good like a lot of my favorite quotes have to do when you get the parentheticals that give you like, because that had that, like, which honestly was not her fault. Like, yeah, you get her little like, you get the factual bits still from her perspective, but like, oh, it's since then. But then you get her little like personal add-on, like, but really.
Yeah, like, but really.
I mean, really.
Oh man, so good.
Yes.
Just like staring at the book. Yay, real books.
I'm just trying to.
It's okay. I'll be living in the land of not real books very soon, so I'm enjoying it while I can. Real paper books.
Okay. So then I have shortly after that, when Alexia is after she stands and is like fixing her dress in the first chapter, like page 8 or whatever. Lord McCon appreciatively watched her do it. Miss Terabody might examine her face in the mirror each morning with a large degree of censure, but there was nothing at all wrong with her figure. He would have to have had far less soul and a good few urges not to notice that appetizing fact. Of course, she always went and spoiled the appeal by opening her mouth. Followed by, in his humble opinion. I'm like, not so humble, Connell.
Not so humble. I feel like that's a catchphrase. As soon as somebody says, in my humble opinion, it's like, that's not going to be humble.
Not so humble. So, yeah, like I said, I didn't really get really far in my reread to actually like highlight a bunch of stuff. But
I have a bunch of little, like, most of mine are just like little quirky, funny things because there are so many of those and they're so brilliant. I have one here. It says, the scream exited the hackney cab as though no wall stood in the way and rent the quiet London night, cutting through the sound of horse hooves on stone. It rattled the leaded glass of the slumbering residences. It caused more than one stray cat to look about, suitably impressed.
Yeah, and I think that's why I love the book. Like I said, the humor is like the overlying.
Yeah.
So you get like that, okay, yes, here's the scene, and then just always these little add-ons.
Something like funny that'll just make you chuckle. I really like, the biggest thing I got from this book was just like, it was just pure enjoyment. Like, when a book makes me laugh out loud over and over again, I'm like, that is, yes, thank you.
Yeah.
That's all.
It's a book, it doesn't take itself too seriously.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
That's what, and very few of her books do. Like, I think all the characters are lovely. And
even with the chapter headings. Like, where is it? I'm trying to find one in particular because, like, the first one, in which parasols prove useful.
Yes.
And then the second one is something about, like, our heroine takes some good advice. And then the third one, if I remember, which is the one that really made me laugh, is, like, our heroine takes some bad advice or something like that. Like, ignores some good advice.
And she does.
Like, oh, geez, what did she do?
Yep.
Okay, chapter 3.
I'm actually really bad about reading the chapter headings. I'm just so, like...
Yeah? There we go.
On most books, I usually just go straight into the.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Chapter 4. Our heroine ignores good advice. That is the title of the chapter.
Nice.
I was amused. Actually, chapter titles are something that really, like, a lot of books don't have them these days.
Yeah.
They just don't. I don't know. They've fallen out of fashion, apparently.
The problem is, like, my personal note, normally when I write, I don't like to have chapter titles. I half the time don't even like to divide into actual chapters.
Yeah, same here.
And I think that's the problem, is that it's just become, it's just linear. Just the story just keeps going.
I'm very partial to the like ridiculously short chapter that is really just like each scene being its own chapter.
Yeah. Well, and
which,
that's
admittedly,
the thing, is, like,
that was one other thing that bugged me about this book, was the chapters were so freaking long.
Yes,
but then it would break, and I'd be like, "Wait, what?" Like, so confused.
Well, the thing about chapter titles is, like, you need to have a good one.
Yeah.
It's hard to, like.
Good job.
Yeah. Well, because, like, you want it to be memorable, but you don't want it to give too much away. But of course, it needs to be relevant.
Yeah. Maybe they're a lost art form.
They probably are. Anyway.
I'm trying to see if there's any mention. Like, I feel like Gail Carriger must have a cat. Because there's the mention of the cat being suitably oppressed, and then there's another one about cats later on.
Let's go find out.
164. Cats were not, in her experience, an animal with much soul. Prosaic, practical little creatures as a general rule. It would suit her very well to be thought cat-like.
Yes.
I love that. Prosaic, practical little creatures.
Actually, you know what? I think you're right. Like, I don't know if she does have a cat, but I feel like I'm trying to remember, like, from not just from this series, but from other series.
Whenever
there are cats.
Very accurately described.
Because I do that too.
Yeah.
I mean, I've had other pets, but just.
Like, anybody who reads my writing knows that I love coffee.
A little bit. Coffee and cats. That's just all my books are about, guys.
It's a good thing for books to be about.
Yeah. So, I don't know if you have more.
Yeah, I think that pretty much sums it up.
There's probably things we missed. But that's okay. You can go to the discussion boards on our Goodreads page.
Yes, and let us know anything we missed.
Because I'm sure we did. I know
well,
a few people who probably have notes that we missed.
I was gonna say, it's almost a 400-page book. If we didn't miss something, that'd be freakish, almost.
Yeah. It's true. Yeah, so final comments. So yeah, I rated it. I know. I love it. I did rate it 3. I'm going to finish my reread, and I might have to bump that to a 4. It's probably more like around 3.5, to be honest. So it's, they do get better as the series goes on, and I love so many of her other books so much.
I'm going to have to read more of her books. Because, yeah, this is the first one of hers that I've read. I actually have, because when it was on sale on Kindle, you recommended me to buy the finishing school ones, I think. Yeah. And so I bought them, but I've had so many other things that I've needed to read that I just, like, they've just been sitting there quietly on my Kindle. And I tend to forget when I have books on my Kindle to read because I don't, like, go back and check all the time. Yeah. They're not, like, in my face on my TBR shelf where I'm like, oh, that book. Like, I can't see them, so it's kind of like out of mind, out of sight. But, yeah, I kind of need to read more of her stuff because it's just so good.
I don't think you have to finish the series to read them because they are set before, but I
want to know.
But I think you should, because that's the order they're written in, and I feel like you get more of a kick out of it.
And I just want to know. Like, I just want to know what other kind of trouble she gets into as, like, a government representative. Like,
yeah, as someone who's so practical and soulless, she tends to get into trouble, doesn't she?
Yes, she has an knack for that.
Is that part of having
the funniest
soulless,
part
like,
is it's always like in her best intention. Like, she's trying to do the right thing and she just screws up. Like, it's
I do wonder if that's part of being soulless too, is if it's like, yeah, like, you just think this is what needs to be done. This is like, it's like a checklist. Instead of like, but if I do this, I might get captured and killed. Or
Minor
this will get me
details.
captured and eaten, and this will get me captured and yeah, like
Or like, oh shoot, I need to turn this werewolf back into a human. I'm just gonna lunge at him.
and hope I can grab him before he bites me.
Yeah.
Even though he's probably 5 times my size.
Yep.
Or however big, yeah. No big deal.
Oh man. But yeah, no, I gave it 4 out of 5. And
Okay.
yeah. Because like seriously, if you're looking for anything that'll just like give you a good chuckle and you have even the remotely like tiniest inclination towards steampunk or paranormal anything, like yeah, it's just a good time.
And I'm pretty sure they do get more steampunky. Like I said, I think the other series are definitely much more steampunky.
Yeah, that wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah. So they do. There's automatons and
Yeah. No, there were definitely there were steampunk elements.
Yeah.
Like what were they called? They weren't. Oh my gosh, I don't want to call them blimps.
the dirigibles.
Yeah, is that what they called them in this book? I don't even remember. But they had those.
The dirigibles. Yes.
I don't know why I felt like pointing that out.
But yeah, those seem to be the unofficial aspects of steampunk. Octopi, hence the.
I was gonna say maybe that's why it's there.
I was gonna say honestly, it's also just a really good like signifier that people don't question for some reason. Like the kraken and an octopus are just for some reason very steampunk. Dirigibles.
Steam-powered carriages.
Well, and the whole idea is that it's supposed to be steampunk is supposed to be the world if had not had if steam had taken over instead of electricity, basically. And all the other industrial stuff.
Steam versus like oil.
Yeah, exactly. So if it had all been steam powered, so you get all of those, like in Wild Wild West. The atmosphere would have
been well, maybe not. Would the atmosphere have been happier? I really don't know.
Well, that's who knows. Like, that's the thing you don't. Like, so yeah, anything steam powered, obviously.
Yeah.
Lots of really weird inventions.
The glassicles.
The glassicles. Lyle gets so put out when they're like throwing these names at him. They're called blah 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 blah.
Yeah, no, they're glassicles.
Yes, they're classical. No, they're totally classicals. I can't remember.
They're totally classicals.
I don't know if you had a chance to think of awards. Our award manager is absent, but
yeah. I wanted to throw out something about the library, quite frankly, but I don't know exactly what. I don't know. Mm-hmm. Just because it was so entertaining that her dad had this entire collection.
The kinkiest collection.
Yeah, exactly. Like, what?
Nothing but the Miller's Tale.
Yes.
I'm all on that.
I don't know. Maybe we'll think on that and then post them on the on the forum.
Yes, I did not. Like I said, I did not finish my reread at all. I was nowhere close, so I didn't.
Yeah. It was a short month. I'm sorry.
Yes, it was short.
That's my fault.
We get 5 weeks for the next 2 picks, supposedly.
Yes. At least that's the intention.
Yes.
And the next pick is mine.
Oh, yes, the next pick is yours. So how about... Yes. I also don't have any rewards prepared. Probably something about how put together Lyle is for someone who ought to be very scruffy.
Agreed. I totally have the next read sitting right here.
Okay. Do you want to read the back since I'm...
I can. Yeah. So I've picked for November. November is NaNoWriMo month for anybody who's not NaNoWriMo month. Wow, that's a double. Anyways. November is National Novel Writing Month. There we go. For anybody who doesn't know that or participate in that. And I believe all 3 of us are participating.
Yes.
Or at least
as far as I know.
Okay.
As far as I know.
So basically, crazy mad dash to write a 50,000 word novel in the space of 30 days. If you don't know about it, go check it out because it's awesome. So on the theme of writing, I've picked Stephen King's On Writing for us to read because it's just a jolly good time. It's so good. It gives a bit of, and I have read it, obviously. there's more flags and pages almost. I don't know if you can see that. Probably not because they're yellow, unfortunately.
Kind of.
But there are tons of flags. It gives a bit of like a sort of history of his, like, you know, a bit of his childhood, a bit of his early writing career. And then the second half is writing advice that is sharp-witted and occasionally very, very blunt and somewhat brutal, but brilliant and and cuttingly hilarious. So yeah, it's just a great good time, and it's once again it's all about writing, which is perfect. So I can read the back here. All right. The back says, "Long live the King," hailed Entertainment Weekly upon the publication of Stephen King's On Writing. Part memoir, part masterclass by one of the best-selling authors of all time, this superb volume is a revealing and practical view of the writer's craft, comprising the basic tools of the trade every writer must have. King's advice is grounded in his vivid memories from childhood, through his emergence as a writer, from his struggling early career to his widely reported near-fatal accident in 1999, and how the inextricable link between writing and living spurred his recovery. Brilliantly structured, friendly, and inspiring, On Writing will empower and entertain everyone who reads it, fans, writers, and anyone who loves a great story well told. The irony is, I actually haven't read very much of his actual work. I think I've read one of his novels, which I feel terrible about. I actually have another one sitting like right over there. And I keep meaning to read it for October because it's October and Stephen King. They seem to just be perfect for each other.
Yes.
But I'm moving across the world in a week. So
Good luck.
That's throwing pretty much everything planned into the wood chipper, basically.
Yeah. As moving across the world does.
Indeed.
Yes. All right.
But yeah, so.
Excellent. So we have 5 weeks. So that's going to be November 21st, 22nd.
Somewhere in there. We'll have to figure out the times.
Depending on times, because we will now be scattered across 3 different continents. So
3 different radically different times.
3 radically different time zones, 3 different continents. So it's going to be a crossover the 21st, 22nd, 5 weeks to read it. As far as Soulless goes, I will look up Muja. I'll post that in the discussion. We'll figure out the names of our awards, and probably we can start off next meeting announcing them to people who don't. Yeah, so we can officially agree, because we should all agree on them, obviously. So we'll do that. And so go to the forums. Links will be posted below. And happy reading, I guess.
Happy reading. And for those of you participating in NaNoWriMo, happy writing.
Happy writing. Good luck. And yes, we'll see you in 5 weeks.
All right.
Bye.
Bye, guys.